The newborn Earth erupted with unimaginable force as towering volcanoes split open the crust. Rivers of molten fire carved paths across the land, glowing brighter than the rising sun. Ash clouds roared upward, drowning the sky in darkness. Thunder echoed between mountains still forming under pressure. This violent creation was not destruction, it was the foundation of continents, oceans, and future life waiting to emerge. Volcanoes ignited one after another like flaming giants awakening from slumber. Shockwaves raced across the plains, shaking newborn mountains. Molten debris rained from the sky, sizzling as it struck the ground. Each eruption reshaped valleys and carved new coastlines. Though chaos ruled, every blast pushed Earth closer to the form it would carry for millions of years. Lava avalanches thundered down shattered cliffs, melting stone with unstoppable heat. Steam vents exploded with piercing blasts. Firestorms raced across the land, leaving glowing trails. The ground groaned under immense pressure, revealing deeper magma chambers. Through relentless turbulence, the landscape began forming raw, violent, and destined for the life that would one day take hold. A volcanic superstorm tore across the land, hurling lightning into molten rivers. Steam clouds exploded in blinding flashes. Cyclone winds screamed over jagged stone, carrying ash far into the distance. The violent storm fused fire, water, and air into a chaotic symphony that shaped Earth's earliest atmosphere, preparing the planet for gradual cooling. Ash rained into the boiling sea, each grain vanishing with a sharp hiss. Waves slammed into volcanic shores, glowing red from molten rivers nearby. Underwater rumbles vibrated through the depths, stirring minerals throughout the ocean. These chemical-rich waters would soon nurture the earliest forms of primitive life, born from fire and salt. Earth's crust split violently as continents pulled apart. Massive glowing fissures spewed magma skyward, shaking the land with bone-deep tremors. Mountains tore open under extreme pressure. Though destructive, these fractures outlined the first shapes of continents and oceans' geographic frameworks that would guide evolution for ages. Mountains rose from molten plains as tectonic pressure pushed rock upward in colossal waves. Cliffs collapsed into glowing valleys. Lava vents roared beneath emerging ridges, shaping raw landscapes. These newborn mountains became the backbone of environments that future creatures would explore, migrate across, and ultimately transform as life evolved. After ages of fire, rain finally claimed the land. Sheets of water poured onto the cooling crust, carving the first true rivers through soft stone. Steam drifted upward as the world exhaled its heat, slowly stabilizing. Thunder echoed not in chaos, but in renewal. The planet was shedding its violent past and preparing for the first signs of life to take root. As rainwater collected into vast basins, the first oceans began to take shape. Waves crashed against young coastlines, smoothing jagged stone into sand. Minerals dissolved through the water, creating a chemical cradle for future life. The roar of waves announced a new era, one where oceans would dominate Earth and become the birthplace of countless species yet to come. From water-soaked soil, the first patches of green appeared, simple mosses and algae clinging to rock surfaces. They absorbed sunlight eagerly, transforming barren land into the earliest ecosystems. Moist wind carried their spores across the landscape, spreading life where none had existed before. These fragile pioneers reshaped the planet silently, becoming the foundation for forests yet to rise. Ferns rose in sweeping fields, their delicate fronds uncurling toward the light. Streams cut through the greenery, feeding the rapidly spreading plant life. Mist drifted above the forest floor, creating a cool sanctuary where early ecosystems flourished. These growing fern worlds transformed Earth's climate, enriching the air and preparing fertile ground for the arrival of larger, more complex life. As conifers emerged, Earth gained its first true forests. Tall trunks reached skyward while thick canopies created deep shadows below. Streams wound between roots, feeding a vibrant, expanding ecosystem. The air grew richer in oxygen, allowing life to flourish at new scales. These forests became strongholds of stability, anchoring landscapes that would soon teem with creatures. As volcanic gases dispersed, the sky shifted from deep red to soft blue. Clouds drifted gently, carrying moisture across continents now teeming with plant life. Sunlight warmed the land without scorching it, allowing ecosystems to stabilize. This new atmosphere marked the end of chaos and the beginning of a world capable of supporting expanding biodiversity. Near hydrothermal vents, the first primitive microorganisms emerged. They fed on minerals and heat instead of sunlight, multiplying in cloud-like swarms. These microscopic pioneers transformed ocean chemistry, laying the groundwork for complex marine ecosystems. Their tiny bodies carried the spark of future evolution, quiet revolution unfolding in the deep. Plankton began to fill the ocean, drifting with currents like shimmering clouds. They captured sunlight, converting it into energy that supported entire food chains. With their spread, the seas transformed from barren depths into vibrant ecosystems. These tiny drifters ushered in a new age of marine abundance, setting the stage for the rise of early animals. Rivers carried nutrients from mountains to lowlands, feeding growing wetlands. These flowing waters created rich habitats where early aquatic life thrived. Plants lined the riverbanks, stabilizing soil and spreading green across the land. The rhythm of water shaped ecosystems that would soon support more complex species. Ocean life expanded rapidly as microorganisms and plankton filled every corner of the sea. Currents carried nutrients through vast underwater plains, sparking the earliest food chains. For the first time, the ocean thrived with energy and motion. Earth had moved beyond survival, life was flourishing, and evolution had begun its long journey. The first true sunrise of a stable world cast golden light across young forests. Mist lifted gently above ferns and conifers, revealing a landscape thriving with life. Wind carried the scent of fresh vegetation through warming valleys. With daylight came renewal, and Earth no longer in chaos, but alive with possibility. Every sunrise now promised growth, harmony, and evolution. Rainfall became the heartbeat of the young world. Each storm nourished expanding forests, feeding streams that carried minerals to every corner of the land. Ferns unfurled faster, conifers grew taller, and moss coated nearly every surface. Rain shaped ecosystems with gentle persistence, transforming Earth into a thriving planet where life could anchor itself deeply. The oceans, once silent and barren, now teemed with new possibilities. Nutrient-rich currents stirred life into motion as sunlight penetrated shallow waters. Reef structures began to rise, forming shelters for early organisms. The sea transformed into a realm of energy and motion, a cradle where evolution accelerated with every passing tide. Tiny organisms like mosses and lichens transformed bare rock into fertile ground. They trapped moisture, broke down minerals, and created microhabitats for insects and microorganisms. These subtle pioneers worked silently, but reshaped entire landscapes. Their growth marked the shift from barren stone to living soil, a foundation for future forests. Plant life expanded across continents like a green tide. Ferns carpeted lowlands, while tall conifers dominated hillsides. Streams braided through valleys, carrying seeds and spores far beyond their origins. As vegetation spread, the atmosphere grew richer and more stable, creating perfect conditions for the arrival of complex creatures that would reshape the world once more. With the atmosphere stabilized, Earth entered an age of gentle warmth and abundant moisture. Weather patterns grew predictable, allowing ecosystems to flourish uninterrupted. Plants spread faster, waterways expanded, and nutrient cycles strengthened. This stability laid the groundwork for the next evolutionary leap, one where animals would rise from both land and sea. Tiny aquatic creatures began to swim through shallow waters, feeding on plankton that filled the seas. These early swimmers brought motion to the ocean's stillness. Their constant movement circulated nutrients and shaped food webs that would one day support far larger species. They were the first animals to claim the ocean as their home. Insects emerged among ferns and mosses, bringing new complexity to the land. They pollinated early plants, decomposed organic matter, and became food for other creatures. Their presence accelerated ecological cycles, making forests more dynamic and productive. These small pioneers helped shape the balance that allowed future giants to thrive. Primeval forests stretched farther than ever, forming dense, interconnected ecosystems. Trees towered above vast fern plains, while rivers branched through fertile soil. These forests transformed continents, producing oxygen that thickened the atmosphere. They became sanctuaries where countless species would soon emerge, turning Earth into a flourishing green world. Small creatures began forming groups for safety and efficiency. They foraged together, warned one another of danger, and shaped early social behavior. These gatherings helped species survive unpredictable conditions and paved the way for more advanced communication in future generations. As continents shifted, new landscapes emerged: fertile plains, winding rivers, and forested basins. These areas quickly filled with vegetation, creating ideal environments for future herbivores. Earth was shaping itself into a mosaic of thriving habitats, each one preparing for life yet to come. Early reptiles emerged as agile hunters, darting between roots and moss to catch insects. Their sharp eyes tracked movement instantly, and quick jaws snapped shut with precision. Feeding on insects gave them energy to grow faster, survive longer, and compete with rival species. These small predators shaped early food webs and developed the agility that future reptilian giants would inherit. In shallow waters, swift aquatic predators lurked beneath ripples. They hid among rocks, bursting forward to snatch smaller fish in rapid strikes. Their streamlined bodies and powerful tails gave them an advantage over slower prey. These underwater hunters quickly became dominant, shaping marine food chains and paving the way for even larger ocean predators to evolve. In shallow waters, swift aquatic predators lurked beneath ripples. They hid among rocks, bursting forward to snatch smaller fish in rapid strikes. Their streamlined bodies and powerful tails gave them an advantage over slower prey. These underwater hunters quickly became dominant, shaping marine food chains and paving the way for even larger ocean predators to evolve. As forests opened into plains, early herbivorous reptiles ventured out to graze. They fed on ferns and low plants, growing steadily in size. With new food sources available, some species doubled their mass within generations. The plains became home to rising giants, their powerful legs carrying them across vast landscapes in search of endless greenery. As forests opened into plains, early herbivorous reptiles ventured out to graze. They fed on ferns and low plants, growing steadily in size. With new food sources available, some species doubled their mass within generations. The plains became home to rising giants, their powerful legs carrying them across vast landscapes in search of endless greenery. Predators evolved rapidly to keep pace with growing herbivores. Their legs became longer, their senses sharper, and their jaws more powerful. They hunted in ambush, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Competition pushed them to greater strength, transforming them into fierce hunters that would one day rule entire continents. Large herbivores began forming massive herds for protection. Moving together made predators hesitate, while collective feeding reshaped vegetation patterns. Their long necks swept across treetops like living cranes. With every step, they carved pathways into the earth, transforming landscapes and spreading plant seeds over vast distances. Allosaurus hunted young sauropods relentlessly, targeting the weakest at the edge of the herd. Adults swung their massive tails defensively, creating a wall of muscle and bone. Dust filled the air as predator and giants clashed. These encounters shaped natural selection, ensuring only the strongest sauropods survived to adulthood. In the Jurassic seas, Pliosaurus reigned as the ultimate predator. It surged through deep waters with explosive power, jaws snapping entire schools of fish in a single bite. Smaller marine reptiles scattered in panic as its shadow passed above. The oceans became a battleground of speed and strength, ruled by giants and seen on land. The land belonged fully to dinosaurs. Sauropods ruled the forests and plains. Stegosaurs guarded fern fields, and agile ornithopods grazed in herds. Each species occupied a vital niche, creating a balanced web of life. Jurassic landscapes thrived with constant movement, sound, and change, home to the most extraordinary creatures ever to walk Earth. Larger theropods like Allosaurus became apex predators. Their powerful legs propelled them across plains, while razor teeth tore through thick hide. They hunted intelligently, choosing isolated or injured prey. Nothing challenged their dominance except the sheer size of sauropod herds. They shaped fear, balance, and survival across Jurassic landscapes. Sauropod herds migrated seasonally, following fern meadows and fresh conifer growth. Their movements shaped entire continents. Paths flattened by their feet became permanent migration routes lasting millions of years. Predators followed from afar, waiting for the weak to fall behind. These migrations nourished landscapes and spread the Jurassic world's lifeblood, vegetation. Territorial disputes erupted between male sauropods and stegosaurs during mating seasons. Massive bodies collided, and tails swept the ground violently. These confrontations could last hours, shaping dominance and herd hierarchy. The strongest thrived, passing their power to future generations. Jurassic valleys echoed with the thunder of giants battling for survival. Liopleurodon and Pliosaurus ruled the Jurassic seas with unmatched power. Their huge bodies propelled them through water faster than any prey could escape. With crushing bites and stealthy ambushes, they dominated ocean ecosystems. Few creatures rivaled their strength, making them true kings of the deep. Liopleurodon and Pliosaurus ruled the Jurassic seas with unmatched power. Their huge bodies propelled them through water faster than any prey could escape. With crushing bites and stealthy ambushes, they dominated ocean ecosystems. Few creatures rivaled their strength, making them true kings of the deep. Jurassic ecosystems flourished with diversity. Stegosaurs guarded plant-rich regions, sauropods shaped forests, ornithopods grazed in herds, and small theropods maintained balance by hunting smaller animals. Each species played a vital role in preserving harmony. Life thrived through cooperation and competition. Ceratosaurus perfected ambush hunting. It hid in deep shade, blending with foliage until prey wandered close. When the moment came, it launched forward with terrifying speed. Its stealth allowed it to take down animals far larger than itself, proving that cunning was as effective as brute strength. Feathered dinosaurs like Archaeopteryx took to the air, gliding between treetops in search of insects and safety. Their wings allowed them to escape predators and access food unavailable on the ground. These pioneering flyers represented evolution's next great step, soon to dominate the Jurassic skies. With giants ruling the land, powerful predators hunting the plains, and feathered creatures mastering the skies, the world transformed into a thriving kingdom of dinosaurs. Ecosystems balanced, landscapes flourished, and evolution accelerated. The planet stood fully prepared. The true Jurassic era had arrived, grand, unstoppable, and filled with life. Early morning mist curled around towering conifers as a young stegosaur stepped cautiously into a fern meadow. Tiny droplets clung to its plates, reflecting golden light. The forest awakened around it, distant calls of sauropod herds and the low rumble of predators far away. The young stegosaur grazed gently, unaware that shadows moved behind the tree line. This day would test its instincts for the first time in the vast Jurassic wilderness. A pair of Dilophosaurus emerged silently from between ancient tree trunks, their crests glistening with morning dew. They communicated with soft clicks, planning their approach toward a herd of small herbivores drinking by a shallow stream. Water shimmered as fish darted below the surface. Each step was calculated, careful, patient. The two predators were young but skilled hunters shaped by competition and instinct. The forest held its breath as they lowered their bodies to strike. Deep inside a volcanic valley, a massive sauropod herd moved slowly across hardened black earth. Ash drifted gently from a distant eruption, coating their backs in pale dust. Their footsteps created rhythmic tremors that echoed against rock walls. Young sauropods stayed protected in the center, guarded by towering adults. Despite the harsh landscape, new plants pushed through cracks, signaling recovery after recent eruptions. Life persisted, even here, drawing strength from destruction. At the edge of a wide marshland, early pterosaurs took to the sky, gliding above rippling water. Their wings cast sharp shadows on the mud below where amphibians hid among reeds. A sudden gust lifted a juvenile higher than expected, forcing it to fight for balance. Below, a crocodile-like teleosaur lurked near the surface, waiting for anything to stray too close. Survival here belonged to creatures quick enough to react in seconds. A group of small ornithopods raced across an open plain, stirring clouds of dust behind them. Their senses were sharp today, the wind carried the scent of danger. Moments later, an Allosaurus emerged from a rocky outcrop, muscles coiled and ready. The herd shifted direction instantly, relying on tight coordination to confuse the predator. Their speed was their only weapon, and every second counted. The chase began in a burst of motion and raw instinct. Beneath the surface of the Tethys Sea, sunlight filtered through deep blue water as ichthyosaurs hunted in swift, coordinated bursts. Their sleek bodies sliced through schools of shimmering fish, scattering them like sparks. One juvenile attempted its first high-speed pursuit, learning to react by watching adults. In the distance, the shadow of a giant pliosaur drifted, silent and patient. The young hunter would need awareness as sharp as its speed to survive these waters. Lightning cracked above a storm-laden coastline as waves battered the shore. Marine crocodiles prowled the shallows, their eyes barely above water. Farther inland, rain hammered ancient cycads. A young predator attempted to seize a fish trapped in a tidal pool, but a larger crocodile lunged first, claiming the prize. Competition was relentless here. Strength and timing determined who ate and who waited. The storm only heightened the tension among hungry hunters. In Inside a dense ginkgo forest, small feathered dinosaurs hopped between branches searching for insects. Their iridescent feathers shimmered like living jewels whenever sunlight pierced the canopy. Below them, giant sauropods passed slowly, their enormous frames brushing treetops and shaking loose a rain of leaves. The contrast between tiny agile hunters and colossal plant eaters showed the Jurassic's diversity, a world where every size and shape had a place in the grand cycle of survival. Near a quiet river bend, a stegosaur's family cooled themselves by standing partly in the water. Ripples spread around their spiked tails as they dipped their plates into the current. Dragonflies the size of a human hand hovered above the surface. But tranquility broke when a predator's distant roar echoed through the valley. The adults raised their tails instinctively while the young clustered together. Peace never lasted long in this era ruled by constant vigilance. A rocky cliff face overlooking a vast valley served as a nesting ground for early birds and small pterosaurs. Fossil-like eggs rested in shallow pits warmed by the sun. Parents swooped in with insects clutched in beaks or claws. High winds made landing dangerous, especially for juveniles still mastering flight. Below, herds moved like shadows across the land, unaware of the fragile world developing above them, a world that would shape future life on Earth. In a narrow canyon lined with towering limestone walls, a lone ceratosaurus tracked the scent of injured prey. The echo of dripping water masked its careful footsteps. High above, flocks of pterosaurs circled, waiting for scraps. The predator finally reached a small pool where a wounded dryosaur struggled to stand. For the ceratosaurus, this canyon served as its private hunting corridor, isolated, echoing, and perfect for ambush. Every corner held danger shaped by stone and instinct. Beneath the canopy of ancient conifers, a massive Camarasaurus used its powerful neck to knock down branches heavy with ripe foliage. Smaller herbivores rushed in to eat fallen leaves, taking advantage of the gentle giant's strength. Birds and insects scattered as branches thudded against the forest floor. The Camarasaurus was not only feeding, it was shaping the forest itself, opening space for sunlight to reach young plants waiting below. Its presence changed the landscape with every movement. Along a gravel riverbank, a young Allosaurus practiced hunting techniques by chasing darting lizards and dragonflies like insects. Every failed leap taught it precision. The river surged with cold mountain runoff, masking the scent of real prey. Its reflection flickered on the water, awkward, unrefined, learning. Over time, these small games would sharpen its instincts for the brutal hunts ahead. Even the fiercest predators began as clumsy amateurs in the shadow of towering giants. In a windswept highland plain, a herd of Kentrosaurus moved in tight formation, their spiked tails angled outward in a defensive ring. They faced unpredictable weather and roaming predators daily. Dust spiraled around them as strong gusts swept across the plateau. Juveniles stayed shielded behind the adults' armor. Survival here depended not on size, but on unity, each spike and each step synchronized to protect the vulnerable. They were walking fortresses of the Jurassic. A shallow lake shimmered under the afternoon sun as giant amphibians lounged near the shoreline. Nearby, a young Brachiosaurus extended its long neck to drink, rippling the surface with each gulp. Fish scattered in synchronized bursts while insects buzzed above. The calm scene broke when a ripple pattern signaled something large moving beneath the water, an ambush predator waiting. Even peaceful watering holes demanded caution from every creature seeking relief from the heat. High on a misty ridge, a family of small feathered raptors communicated with soft chirps while scanning the valley below. Their feathers shifted colors subtly under shifting light, helping them blend into rocky surroundings. They hunted cooperatively, using clever tactics rather than brute strength. Today, they observed a herd's movement patterns, learning weaknesses before attempting a strike. Intelligence, not size, made them successful predators in this challenging terrain. Deep in a swampy wetland, giant horsetail plants towered above knee-deep water. Crocodile-like phytosaurs glided silently through submerged roots. A lone juvenile sauropod wandered too far from its herd, splashing loudly with each step. The vibrations attracted unwanted attention. From the shadows, a phytosaur rose slowly, jaws opening. The wetland was beautiful but treacherous, a place where stillness could break into violence in an instant. A thunderous crack echoed across a coastal cliff when two male stegosaurs clashed in a dominance ritual. Their plated backs flared in the sunlight as they swung spiked tails with controlled precision. Dust and pebbles tumbled down the ledge. The confrontation wasn't meant to kill, only to decide leadership within the herd. Nearby, females and juveniles watched silently. Strength and discipline shaped their hierarchy in this rugged Jurassic shoreline. In a narrow forest corridor, early mammals scurried among glowing fungi that illuminated the night. Above them, the forest canopy trembled as a massive sauropod passed in near silence. Predators rarely hunted here at night, making this a brief safe window for small creatures. Owning the night required caution. Every sound echoed, every shadow mattered. The ancient forest felt alive and watchful, guarding its secrets beneath shimmering moonlight. A distant geyser erupted in rhythmic bursts across a geothermal valley, sending clouds of steam drifting over emerald marshes. Curious pterosaurs circled above the mist, fascinated by the sudden plumes. Near a bubbling hot spring, a young ankylosaur cautiously approached to drink, testing the warm ground with its armored tail. This valley was unpredictable, nurturing life, yet threatening it with every eruption. Even the boldest creatures tread carefully across this unstable Jurassic wonderland. Two Chasmosaurus moved through a colossal redwood forest, their frills scraping low branches as they advanced. Moss rained down with each powerful step. A distant roar echoed, but the pair remained calm. This was their territory. They paused to feed on thick ferns growing beneath the giants of the forest. Their synchronized movements revealed years of companionship and survival. In the cool silence of the redwoods, their presence shaped paths that countless creatures would later follow. A family of troodontids climbed a cliffside cave, gripping narrow ledges with sharp claws as sunlight filtered through cracks, lighting their iridescent feathers. The cave gave shelter from predators and harsh weather, but its jagged terrain demanded agility. The youngest slipped before regaining balance, earning soft, reassuring chirps. In this hidden sanctuary, they prepared for the challenges waiting beyond the stone threshold. Across a vast salt marsh, a Diplodocus herd crossed slowly, their long tails trailing ripples across shallow pools. Mud clung to their massive feet, and each step echoed like distant thunder. Migrating through wetlands was risky, but essential. Fresh feeding grounds lay beyond the tidal flats. Smaller dinosaurs followed behind, using the herd's footprints as safe stepping stones. The march was steady and relentless, a display of endurance against shifting tides and uncertain terrain. At a rare desert oasis, two Cryolophosaurus circled one another, their crests catching sharp glints of sunlight. The scorching wind carried sand in swirling waves as they exchanged low, territorial growls. Neither wanted a deadly battle, only dominance. Small desert reptiles froze beneath scrub plants as tension peaked. Finally, one predator stepped back, yielding the oasis. The victor drank first, proud but weary in the brutal heat of the Jurassic desert. Near the edge of a mountain glacier, early feathered dinosaurs searched for food among frozen debris. Cracks echoed through the ice as distant avalanches tumbled down slopes. These cold regions were rare during the Jurassic, but life adapted quickly. The dinosaurs' dense feathers trapped warmth as they scavenged algae, insects, and remains washed in from warmer valleys. The frozen world required resilience, and only the most adaptable thrived at the boundary of ice and life. Beside a roaring waterfall, a Monilophosaurus bent its head to drink, wary of dangers hidden beneath the thick jungle canopy. Mist coated its crest, turning the red stripe glistening. The predator paws often, listening to the hum of giant insects and the distant thudding of unknown footsteps. Watering spots were risky yet necessary. Life in the deep Jurassic jungle demanded constant awareness. One wrong moment could turn a peaceful drink into a deadly encounter. At dusk, a meadow came alive with glowing insects drifting like floating embers. Small herbivorous dinosaurs moved gently between the lights, grazing in calm silence. The spectacle offered a rare moment of peace in a dangerous world. Predators seldom hunted here at night. The glow disoriented them. For the grazers, this enchanted field provided both food and safety, a sanctuary shaped by the rhythms of light and darkness. Along a storm-scarred coast, a group of Herosaura strode out from a sea grotto, salt water streaming off their hides. They fanned across the tidal flats with practiced precision, scanning for creatures left behind by the retreating waves. Their sharp calls bounced against the cliffs as they coordinated the search. Coastal hunts were risky, but rich fish, small reptiles, and stranded dinosaurs offered constant opportunity. At a sprawling river delta, a Mamenchisaurus extended its astonishingly long neck across a channel to reach tender leaves untouched by other herbivores. Frogs croaked from mud islands, and reeds swayed softly in the wind. Its size made each movement deliberate, calculated to avoid sinking into soft ground. This gentle giant shaped the delta day by day, trimming distant vegetation and leaving deep pathways through the reeds. In a mineral-rich canyon, moonlight reflected off glowing rock veins, creating an eerie silver landscape. A megalosaurus crept silently through the narrow passage, using shifting reflections to hide its approach. The predator's eyes scanned every shadow for movement. Prey often froze here, overwhelmed by strange lights. The canyon turned the hunt into a game of illusions one the megalosaurus had mastered through countless nights under the shimmering glow. A herd of Camptosaurus moved carefully through a shallow river at sunrise, the smallest staying close to adults as swirling water hid unknown threats. A brief shadow beneath the surface tightened their formation, but no predator emerged. When they reached the opposite bank, droplets slid off their backs and the ferns swallowed their silhouettes. Their quiet journey continued into the forest, where safety depended on constant awareness. High on a windswept ridge, a solitary Cryolophosaurus watched the valley below, its colorful crest catching the dawn light. Herds grazed unaware in the distance. Silent and patient, the predator followed the cliff edge, testing the wind for scent trails. It never rushed. Timing meant everything. When a sudden shift in the breeze revealed a vulnerable target, it began its descent with lethal precision born from countless successful hunts. Across a volcanic ash plain, Celadosauros settled into shallow pits to cool their bodies. Fine gray ash drifted down, coating their armored backs as distant rumbles vibrated through the ground. They remained calm, adapted to a world shaped by constant eruptions. When the tremors faded, the herd rose together and resumed feeding among scattered ferns, moving slowly but confidently through the harsh, heat-scarred terrain. Small heterodontosaurs dashed between fallen logs, clipping tender shoots with sharp beaks as they chirped to stay connected. Their light bodies slipped easily through tangled undergrowth. A distant predator roar froze them momentarily, but the maze of roots offered safety. With a burst of coordinated movement, they vanished deeper into the forest, using speed and teamwork to survive in a world filled with danger at every turn. Under a silver moon, two Dilophosaurus hunted in flawless coordination. One waded slowly, pushing fish toward the shallows, while the other stood perfectly still, waiting for the ideal moment. Their synchronized strike sent water exploding upward. Afterward, soft clicking sounds passed between them, a quiet language built through years of shared survival in the marshlands they ruled together. A herd of Kentrosaurus gathered tightly within a thorny thicket, their sharp shoulder spikes angled outward. Something moved just beyond the foliage, slow, deliberate, waiting. The herd shuffled but never broke formation. Their survival depended on unity. When the unseen predator finally retreated, the tension eased, and the herd continued deeper into the forest, their spiked silhouettes blending into the wilderness. A young Dryosaurus burst through scattered trees, legs pumping with astonishing speed as a predator's roar echoed behind it. The forest floor blurred under its feet while branches whipped past. Its lightweight body and powerful hind limbs gave it the one advantage many dinosaurs lacked: pure acceleration. With a final desperate dash, it leapt over a fallen log and vanished into dense undergrowth. High above a calm lagoon, a Rhamphorhynchus folded its wings and plunged toward the water, tail ribbon cutting a thin line through the air. It pierced the surface with precision, seizing a small fish before flapping back into the sky. Droplets scattered behind it like glittering shards. Hunting required perfect timing, and this flyer had mastered it through countless dives. A massive Torvosaurus pushed through the shadows, each step cracking branches beneath its weight. Smaller animals scattered instantly, recognizing the rumble that signaled an apex hunter. It paused beside a fallen tree, tasting the air for recent movement. This territory was rich with prey, and the predator intended to claim it fully. With a low growl, it advanced deeper into the forest. A procession of Apatosaurus moved steadily through a wide river, water rising nearly to their chests. Their long necks swayed gently with each powerful step. Smaller dinosaurs followed in their wake, sheltered by the giant's presence. The crossing was slow but safe. Few predators dared challenge such massive creatures. As sunlight glimmered on rippling water, the herd advanced toward new feeding grounds beyond the opposite bank. Between 170 and 160 million years ago, the Jurassic reached its brightest peak. Warm climates, high oxygen levels, and vast forests supported enormous sauropod herds and thriving predators. Marine ecosystems expanded rapidly, filled with ammonites and giant ichthyosaurs. Biodiversity flourished across every continent, creating the most stable and prosperous chapter of the Jurassic era. This period marked the height of ecological balance before long-term pressures slowly approached. Around 165 million years ago, Jurassic life thrived with extraordinary stability. Herbivore megafauna shaped entire landscapes, while predators like Allosaurus perfected their hunting strategies. Forests grew thick and oxygen-rich, supporting insects, birds, and mammals. The oceans were equally vibrant, filled with ammonites and fast ichthyosaurs. Nearly every environment, land, sea, and sky, held complex food webs, revealing a world operating at peak evolutionary harmony. From 170 to 160 million years ago, forests reached their greatest expansion. Conifers, ginkgos, boneditals, and towering ferns covered entire continents. These forests produced enormous oxygen levels, fueling the growth of giant sauropods and diverse herbivores. Small mammals and early birds evolved rapidly in the shaded undergrowth. This botanical empire formed the ecological backbone of the Jurassic Golden Age. Around 165 million years ago, the Tethys Sea became one of the richest marine ecosystems in Earth's history. Warm, nutrient-dense waters supported massive ammonite populations, belemnites, early sharks, and the gigantic Leadsichthys. Pliosaurs ruled deeper zones as apex predators. Food chains were stable and diverse, mirroring the prosperity found on land. This oceanic boom marked the true marine peak of the Jurassic. Between 168 and 160 million years ago, dinosaur ecosystems reached peak expansion. Stegosaurs occupied forest margins, ornithopods spread across open grasslands, and young sauropods prospered in sheltered valleys. Predators evolved into varied forms to match this growth, creating rich food webs across continents. Nearly every habitat, from canopy to riverbank, flourished, with activity marking one of the most stable and successful eras of the Jurassic. Around 165 million years ago, sauropods reached their greatest dominance. Their massive bodies reshaped landscapes, crushing vegetation and forming long migration corridors. Herds extended for kilometers as they moved between seasonal feeding areas. These giants helped stabilize ecosystems by spreading nutrients and opening plains for other species. Their rule represented the height of Jurassic power. No land animals, before or after, have matched their sheer scale. Between 164 and 160 million years ago, predators experienced their greatest evolutionary refinement. Allosaurs perfected coordinated hunting, ceratosaurs exploited forest shadows, and smaller theropods adapted to fast pursuits. This diversity created a balanced predator hierarchy that maintained ecological order. Prey species grew stronger in response, driving a continuous evolutionary arms race. It was the ultimate predator-prey equilibrium in the Jurassic's prime. From 160 to 155 million years ago, marine life flourished at extraordinary levels. Reefs expanded, ammonites diversified into countless forms, and ichthyosaurs dominated mid-depth waters. Yet subtle shifts began: cooling currents, periodic anoxic zones, and changing sea levels. These early signs marked the beginning of a slow decline. Though still thriving, the oceans were entering a transitional stage that would reshape marine ecosystems for the coming Cretaceous era. Between 158 and 155 million years ago, Jurassic forests reached their greatest expansion. Conifers towered higher, ferns spread across valleys, and cycads colonized new floodplains. This explosion of plant life supported massive herbivore herds and created stable habitats across continents. The forests formed the backbone of the Jurassic ecosystem, balancing oxygen levels and regulating moisture. It was the height of terrestrial abundance before subtle shifts began reshaping the land. From 156 to 152 million years ago, dinosaur diversity reached its absolute peak. Herbivores occupied every landscape from wetlands to high plains, while predators split into specialized niches. Flying reptiles expanded into coastal regions, and early birds experimented with new habitats. The world was overflowing with life, each species shaped by millions of years of adaptation. This was the most vibrant phase of the Jurassic, when ecosystems thrived in near-perfect equilibrium. Around 155 million years ago, the climate became remarkably stable. Warm temperatures and high humidity allowed vegetation to flourish without interruption. Seasonal cycles were gentle, creating predictable feeding patterns for dinosaurs. Predator-prey dynamics balanced perfectly. It was a rare moment when climate, life, and geography aligned in harmony. But this stability masked the first subtle signs of upcoming environmental change. Between 154 and 150 million years ago, geological activity slowly increased. Rift valleys deepened, volcanic fields expanded, and continents began shifting into new positions. These changes altered coastlines and influenced rainfall patterns across vast regions. Although life continued to flourish, ecosystems quietly adjusted. The land itself was preparing for the next chapter, and the Jurassic world began transitioning away from its long-standing equilibrium. Around 150 million years ago, forest ecosystems experienced early signs of stress. Rainfall patterns shifted, creating drier zones where ferns and cycads struggled. Some herbivore populations adjusted by migrating farther, while others declined slowly. Predators followed these changes, altering hunting grounds and movement routes. Though subtle, this marked the earliest phase of Jurassic environmental instability. Between 148 and 146 million years ago, ocean conditions began to shift. Cooler currents weakened reef ecosystems, reducing habitat for countless marine species. Ammonite diversity decreased slightly, while some marine reptiles migrated to deeper waters. Although oceans were still rich with life, the intricate balance that had defined the Middle Jurassic was slowly unraveling. As vegetation decreased in certain regions, herbivores adapted. Smaller species thrived by switching to tougher plants, while large sauropods expanded their migration routes. Competition for resources increased, influencing herd behavior and social structure. These adjustments helped many species survive, but they signaled a gradual decline in Jurassic plant abundance. Around 145 million years ago, predators faced new challenges as herbivore patterns changed. Some theropods expanded their ranges, while others specialized in smaller prey. Competition increased among mid-sized hunters, reshaping the hierarchy. Though still powerful, predator populations adjusted to a world beginning its slow transformation. From 144 to 142 million years ago, forests fragmented further as climate shifts intensified. Open woodlands replaced dense canopies, forcing animals to adapt to mixed environments. New species thrived in these transitional zones, while others declined slowly. This ecological restructuring marked an undeniable step toward the end of the Jurassic era. Between 142 and 140 million years ago, ocean systems grew increasingly unstable. Temperature gradients shifted rapidly, disrupting plankton populations and affecting ammonites. Some marine reptiles followed prey into deeper zones, while others declined. This gradual marine disruption foreshadowed larger ecological changes that would define the next era. By 140 million years ago, the Jurassic decline became unmistakable. Vegetation patterns changed, some species vanished locally, and migration routes shifted dramatically. Predator-prey relationships tightened as resources grew uneven. While not catastrophic, these changes signaled the final phase of a once dominant world preparing to transition into the Cretaceous era. Between 139 and 145 million years ago, evolution accelerated one last time. Feathered theropods diversified, early birds refined flight, and plants began shifting toward forms that would dominate the Cretaceous. Though some giants still roamed, their world had changed. The Jurassic ended not in destruction, but in transformation, passing its legacy to new species rising on the horizon. The Jurassic world changed through storms, forests, and migrating giants, showing how deeply life depends on balance. Today, humanity faces similar warnings: warming climates and fragile ecosystems. The ancient past teaches that survival comes from respecting nature, not dominating it. When harmony held, life thrived. When balance slipped, decline followed. Earth remembers every shift, urging us to act before history repeats. During the Jurassic, every creature survived by fitting into its place, never taking more than nature could afford. Forests regenerated, rivers fed valleys, and species moved with the rhythm of the planet. Humanity now stands at a crossroads: continue consuming without restraint, or restore harmony before damage becomes permanent. The ancient world shows that imbalance leads only to loss. To protect our future, we must respect every boundary that life depends on. Jurassic oceans shifted unpredictably, reminding us that nature cycles through calm and chaos. Marine life adapted because it respected limits, moving when waters changed. Humans often ignore warnings: rising seas, dying reefs, polluted air, believing stability is permanent. But the Jurassic teaches that ecosystems can collapse silently long before disaster appears. Protecting nature is not optional. It is the only barrier between balance and irreversible decline. As climates shifted in the Jurassic, Species migrated, adapted, or vanished. Their fates were shaped by nature's laws, not greed or carelessness. Humans, however, influence the planet faster than any natural force. Our choices, what we build, consume, and protect, will decide whether ecosystems survive. The ancient world shows that change is inevitable, but destruction is preventable if we act with responsibility and foresight. The Jurassic ended quietly, not through catastrophe, but through slow environmental change. Its legacy survives in birds, forests, and the living rhythms of Earth. Humanity now carries the responsibility to preserve what remains. If we respect natural boundaries and safeguard habitats, life will thrive as it once did. If we repeat past mistakes, the silence that ended the Jurassic may echo again, this time by our own hands. Fossils from the Jurassic preserved in limestone, shale, and volcanic ash prove how life once flourished in perfect balance. Skeletons of sauropods, delicate feathers of Archaeopteryx, and marine reptiles frozen in motion show a world shaped by nature, not destruction. These remains warn us that even the strongest ecosystems can disappear if conditions collapse. Science preserves the truth, but humanity must learn from it before repeating the same fate. Across Utah, Portugal, and South Africa, fossilized footprints reveal how herds migrated, hunted, and survived. Sauropod trackways stretch for kilometers, while sharp three-toed prints show predators in pursuit. These silent paths prove life once moved with purpose and harmony. Today, human expansion erases habitats faster than fossils can form. The tracks remind us to tread lightly. Every footprint left behind shapes the world that future generations inherit. Layers of rock show chemical traces, proving how climates shifted at the end of the Jurassic. Oxygen levels changed, seas retreated, and volcanic gases altered the atmosphere. These signatures remain locked in stone like warnings etched by time. They show that Earth reacts powerfully to imbalance, slowly but relentlessly. For humans, these records are not just history, they are instructions on what must never be repeated. A few Jurassic lineages, ginkgo trees, horseshoe crabs, and certain ferns survive today almost unchanged. Their existence proves which traits withstand time: resilience, adaptation, and harmony with the environment. These living fossils warn humanity that survival belongs not to the strongest, but to those who respect natural limits. Their endurance is a lesson carved across millions of years. Science reveals the Jurassic not as a distant myth, but as a mirror. Its fossils, trackways, and geological scars show what happens when ecosystems shift beyond recovery. Humanity is the first species capable of understanding these warnings, and the first capable of preventing another collapse. The ancient world cannot return, but its message endures: protect the Earth, or risk joining the ages already lost.